Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Call the May 1st, 2024 meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreter, Teresa Mendeville, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, click the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask that all speakers be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. I ask board members to speak directly into the microphone and remind all speakers who are wearing masks to please remove their masks when speaking in order to be clearly heard by all attendees. Item 1B is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs, as well as on the table outside the boardroom in both English and Spanish. If there are speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreter, Ms. Mendeville, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comments for topics not included on the approved agenda. The Board of Education does not act on any matter that has not been agendized except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the county board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Superintendent McGee, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
We had one comment submitted in writing from Steve Kennedy. It was received yesterday, and the board has received it electronically, and it will be posted on the board's website.
Okay, thank you. Speakers are invited to make live comment and will have 3 minutes to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. Please keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raised hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent McGee. Are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time, Superintendent McGee?
We have one hand raised, Janice Pellizzari.
Okay.
Janice, you're free to speak.
Good evening, President Benini, Board Trustees, Superintendent McGee. I'm here tonight to thank the 17th District PTA. They had a appreciation for teachers today. That was very nice, and we all appreciated it. I have a couple more shout outs. Gray Fry has been helping us out with our PBIS and trying to tighten that up and make it stronger. I want to let him know I appreciate that. I also want to thank IT and facilities for all their help in sprucing up our Gateway location. They've been coming in and helping us try to do a wellness center, to do a school store, and it's just really nice to have other people helping to build that up. I know I'm looking forward to CT, and I know the kids are. I'm hoping everybody is. I think it's a great opportunity for kids to learn a different way. And I hope we can all embrace that type of learning when we go forward next year. I think that's it for tonight. I just want to thank all the 101 staff who has been supporting Gateway this year in for us to try to make it better and more successful for kids. So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Superintendent McGee, are there any submitted cards?
We don't have any cards.
Thank you. Okay, public comment addressing specific agenda items will be heard immediately before the board takes them up. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raised hand feature when the item is announced, and if in person, submit a card in advance of the item. And the public comments actually after the item is presented. I just wanted to make that correction. Okay, for item 3A, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 17th, 2024 regular board meeting as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Gerard and the second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0, and the minutes for the April 17th, 2024 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 4 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. There's a second, okay. There's motion by trustee Cannon and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0 and the consent agenda has been approved. All right, on to item 5A. For item 5A, Zoni Boyer, Coordinator, Center for Access and Engagement, Gwen Lee, Executive Director, Curriculum and Instruction Services, Sarah Notch, Executive Director, Center for Access and Engagement, Chad Slife, Coordinator, Center for Access and Engagement, and Maria Vlaotis, Coordinator, English Language Arts, will provide a report on San Mateo County Office of Education support for reading instruction. Executive Directors Lee and Notch and Coordinators Boyer, Slife, and Vlados, welcome.
Good evening, President Benini, members of the board, Superintendent McGee. We're so excited to be able to bring you information about the results of our cross-departmental collaboration in helping districts, supporting districts with reading instruction, and also in understanding changes in our education code around SB 114, the legislation that addresses screening for reading difficulties, including dyslexia. Mentioning that it was a cross-departmental collaboration, we're going to have part A, part B, but recognizing that everything is very much in sync and builds off of the work of our team members. We're going to start with what Center for Access and Engagement is doing to help districts with readiness for the new requirements for the reading screener, or screener for reading difficulties, including dyslexia. And how we're addressing the need to shore up their intervention systems so they're ready to address the spirit of the legislation, which is not just to screen annually, but the now what and of how to address the indicators that result from the screeners. We wanted to include the full statute language. I won't read it to you, but this is what was codified as a result of SB 114 being passed. And essentially, districts now have an obligation to screen K-2 students using screeners that will be adopted by state board and once annually. So this is the statute language, but what I really am excited about telling you is what we're doing with it. There's a long timeline that's very difficult for you to see. Don't worry, we'll zoom in for you. Along the way, those 12 steps for the Center for Access and Engagement's work are both legislation steps and things that are happening between now and the 2025-2026 school year, as well as how we as the Center for Access and Engagement are going to help support districts in readiness for the new requirements. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zoni Boyer, who's going to discuss the legislative steps. You'll notice as we go through, the numbers are not going to be in order because everything is layered in with legislation steps and then support steps. Dr. Chatzlife will speak to the support steps next.
So as you can see here, for the bill was signed into law last July 2023 by Governor Newsom. And then the second step, as you can see, is like the EDCO language that included the language of the screening risk of reading difficulties, which Sarah went over in the previous slide. The screening instruments, the SB 114 took place and took effect in January of this year, January 2024. And the RDRSSP, or the Reading Difficulties Risk Screener Selection Panel, was a state adopted appointed panel. Applications went out throughout the state, and they were really looking for diverse candidates to address many needs and have different perspectives in order to review screeners and recommend for the state board. And then these screening instruments will be adopted by the state board December of this year. And then LEAs must adopt by June 30, 2025. And in between this time, LEAs will be reviewing what those adopted screeners are and picking out which ones best suit the needs of their districts based on their student populations. And then it will be taken to effect. LEAs must commence beginning 2025-26 school year for all the students in K through 2 and must conduct the screening annually.
All right, now the exciting part. What will we be doing here at SMCOE in the Center for Access and Engagement? Oh, and let me use the clicker the right way. There we go. So we want to be both proactive and supportive throughout this rollout. And so what we're developing right now is a series of workshops, and this is where the numbers will come into play that we're missing when Zoni presented, is that we want to roll out workshops for all of our LEAs throughout the county to better understand the state bill and the education code, and also what the screener means, how they will be choosing screeners, and then the official implementation in 2025-26. So I'm going to go a little deeper into what we mean by this workshop series with the rest of the timeline. And the series will be called Screening for Reading Difficulties, Setting Us Up for Success. So there are 4 of these are actually workshops, and one is just a check-in that we're making sure that LEAs are being able to do what they need to do on the ground. So you'll see starting as early as this summer into fall, we're going to be doing a session with our LEAs to really just understand the new law and what it means and how it impacts our staff and our students. Following that, we'll be doing a session where we're going to go in and really help with the needs assessment, internal audits of what districts already have structured and how the screener will only supplement and also support what they're currently doing for their students. Followed by going into spring of 2025, and I'm just kind of going along with the numbers here. You'll see it, the 8th one is that when we were going to hold another professional learning session to support the LEAs after the screeners have been adopted, or excuse me, after they've been offered by the state, how they're going to make the selection process that LEAs will have the control of doing. That will then be followed by an action step where we'll just be checking in to make sure that LEAs are choosing their screeners for adoption, to get that all locked and ready for when we go into August of 2025, then holding our final session of the series to help with the overall implementation, since it is an annual screener, to make sure all students K through 2 are effectively being screened by their general education teachers. So that is what the workshops and support looks like on a very broad scale. And then we want to continue the ongoing systems work for all of our districts as we do at the center, and just be there using improvement science to really enhance. So as you'll see on this slide, it's a lot of different things we'll be offering, really helping them with goals that are problem-specific, user-centered, using information that's timely and reliable to really continue to produce better outcomes than we've seen, providing a strong capacity to drive the improvement in our districts, providing flexibility with their decision-making, because we know each LEA may be operating differently and may choose different screeners to really support the variation in performance, and then really helping form networked improvement communities, which are similar to PLCs, but really helping the accelerated learning to get the screener up and going and be successful. Because as you can read that final note, the key to change is the commitment to learning how to do things better and to continuously improve the performance of our schools through the principles of improvement science. So we're very excited to get that going. Thank you.
So what are we doing in the meantime? Last spring, I began some work with CIS in setting up leadership for the Science of Reading series that we would be starting this year for this initiative. And so leadership was on board. We want to get ahead of it in terms of really first good teaching in the classroom, so tier 1 instruction. And so when we can support that teaching and learning, we hope that there are less students identified. So before that screener comes into place in 2025. So I'm going to hand it over to Maria. Yeah.
Oh, this one. Okay. So this is just review. This is the timeline that the Center for Access and Engagement just went through in much more detail. But this is here just to show you that we also are, cognizant of the fact that this is coming and are really working proactively and working backwards to start to build as much capacity as possible in our districts and in the classrooms in order for students to be successful even before they get screened. In terms of the support and response that we're providing, we have a couple of things that we're really thinking through. The first one is, our value add as a county office is to be able to glean the best practices from around the county and share them. And so, for example, we've already asked San Mateo Foster City to host an upcoming CII meeting so that we can all go and visit and see the wonderful work that they're doing around Science of Reading. We're offering targeted technical support to districts that are reaching out and being strategic about reaching out to districts who we see based on data need our support. We are heavily supporting materials adoption, both for foundational skills as well as general ELA programming, and then offering professional development, which I'll talk about in a moment. Just a very brief overview of the Science of Reading. The Science of Reading is not new. The Science of Reading has been around, but not everyone has been using it. And so what is the Science of Reading? The Science of Reading is really taking a look at what the research actually says based on brain science works for students in terms of learning how to read and what are the steps to get there. It talks about instructional practices. It talks about interventions. But the biggest piece that I want you to get from this, what's the major shift that some of our districts are going to have in terms of mindset, is the intentionality around the processes that students need to go through in order to be successful readers. It doesn't just happen. We weren't born to read. It's something that we've constructed as humans. And so we need to really be intentional about the process that students are able to access that process and to learn that process. Some people will tell you it's about phonics instruction, and it's very important that we incorporate very strong systematic phonics instruction, but that's not all of it. So what I've done is I've included 3 of the major prominent frameworks that researchers have created based on the neuroscience. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do have links if you're interested to watch videos or to read short articles. But what you'll notice in all of these is that there are many processes in place for students to be able to actually read. It's a very complicated process. And so if you miss even 1 or 2 of these components, we don't get skilled readers. And so again, it's about that intentionality of knowing exactly what it is that we need to address and to do so proactively and then reactively for the students who didn't catch the first time. What are the implications for San Mateo County? Right now, as you know, it's no surprise, I think across many counties, we have large discrepancies based on student groups and the students who are able to read and access reading and have the resources to read. So what we're doing is really taking a look at our county office's strategic plan, and we're specifically focusing on goals 1 and 3 to really, like when Lee said, offer the effective first instruction so that we don't have to remediate so that we have a small group of students we're remediating, not all students. We're really taking a look at access for our different student groups and tiered supports. Also, in terms of our collaboration with many of our departments here at SMCOE, we are looking for smooth transitions between our services and also helping districts really have smooth transitions for the students in the grade levels where they are. What we're hoping that this does and what we know it will do if we can do this to fidelity is to improve reading proficiency, to have higher levels of comprehension for our students, and to reduce the disparities that we see. What's our current work? We're doing a lot of work. We are in lots of our school districts. I've listed them here. Some of them have links that you can go in and take a look at the work that we've done. Lots of our school districts are reaching out, and this is just since I've been here in October. Gwen has done a lot of historical work with school districts as well in terms of the materials adoption piece. In our elementary topics meetings, we've worked with Collaborative Classroom to come and talk to our district leaders about the science of reading. We're hosting our first cohort of a 2-year professional learning program called Letters, and inviting all of our districts to send teachers, TK through 2nd grade, to it to enhance their reading instruction. We have offered 2 separate occasions where people can either in person or virtually watch the Right to Read documentary to better understand why it's important to have strong instruction. And thank you, Board President Bonini, who attended one of those. We're hosting currently a distinguished speaker series. We've had 2 experts in the field virtually talk to leaders from across the county, and we're on our last speaker series session 1 week from yesterday. 1 week from today. So May 8th, we have Dr. Claude Goldenberg coming and talking about English learners and the reading rope. And then what are our next steps? We're planning a large kickoff event. You're all invited, August 2nd here at San Mateo County Office of Ed. We are going to have some prominent experts in the field come and talk to districts and site leaders as well as educators. We are, again, working with Collaborative Classroom. We're also showcasing the work of San Mateo Foster City as a district spotlight, and showcasing the work that some of our coordinators in CIS are experts in, so that our districts can see us as a great resource for them. We're also launching our Letters cohort in person that day. And then we are going to have additional events, full-day events for educators to come and learn more about reading fluency and vocabulary and anti-racist practices, and bringing more joy into the reading process as well. So here are some of kind of the main folks that we're talking to currently. And none of this can be done without collaboration. So we are collaborating with the Center for Access and Engagement and with our ELSS team to leverage some of the grants that we currently hold to be able to help our districts engage with the work. And then there's an appendix with some additional articles if you're interested in reading more. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Trustee Torres.
Yes, thank you. That was amazing. For the workshops, are we or can we, as the county board, be invited to those? I think those would be very interesting to sit on.
For everybody except for county board members. But no, of course you can. Of course, yes.
Okay, great.
Please just register and we'll take care of it.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for the dates. Thanks.
Awesome. Trustee Cannon.
So is a major part of this phonics, this reading system?
The part that seems to be missing the most in current instruction is phonics. So we're helping a lot of districts adopt specific phonics programs to enhance their reading instruction, but it's not all of it. And so the discrepancy is, you know, some people believe that if it's just phonics, that students won't find joy in the reading. And again, when you look at the frameworks and you look at all of the pieces that go into understanding how to read, phonics is one part of it. It's an important part, and we haven't intentionally hit it as much as we should.
Thank you.
Trustee Gerard.
Yes, you were mentioning in several different slides, tools that will be used. And do you have examples that you could just tell us about of some of those tools? Things that they'll be using to help, that we, or that you will be helping to train teachers, and also then teachers using those tools with the students?
I'm gathering you're asking about instructional tools, not kind of
Right.
systems tools. Okay.
Are you talking
Yes.
about like screeners in general? And there are several that, Dibbles is one that many districts use. FastBridge is another one. Stanford has one that they are piloting. UCSF is piloting one. That's what the state is doing. That panel is actually reviewing all of the screeners to determine which ones they're going to put on the adopted list. So a lot of districts already have a screener or some sort of assessment in place. It's just the requiring of them and which ones they decide to choose at the state level that the districts will lean into.
Okay, and my other question has to do actually with the books that will be used with the students in the different reading groups. And will all those be new books that they're not currently using now? Do you know?
That's a great question. I think it varies by district, and I think it varies by the program that they're adopting. So there are programs that come with their own books and are, scaffolded from one to the next based on the instructional kind of pacing guide. So some districts are looking to keep their books and have their foundational skills piece just be totally separate, and others are really looking at the entire package of the foundational skills program, and some of them do include new readers that are not the leveled readers that we're used to, but more what's called decodables. And so again, there's a shift, and depending on the district, they're in different places right now, but we're trying to kind of calibrate, and by spotlighting the districts that are being successful and are what we feel like are, really aligning to the science that we're seeing, we're hoping to build the best practices.
What does decodables mean?
So it is using the phonics that they're currently reading that are immediately kind of translated into the books that they are using, where they can decode the parts of the language to make sense of them.
So like an example would be like cat sat with cat, the cat. And sometimes they don't make sense. So there was always that push and pull about decodable text because they weren't as like engaging. So I think that's changing now, but that's just one piece of it. So that's a good question though.
Thank you.
Trustee Alvaro.
Thank you for this. And Dr. Seuss is really good at that, by the way. I was able to attend the Right to Read virtual screening. Thank you. I was so excited by it and the fact that this discussion is happening. And I had a question for someone about English learners. When we had Half Moon Bay Library had Project Read for a long time, where we were helping people with literacy skills who were pre-literate, adults who were pre-literate. And the challenge we ran into was that so many of them were not native English speakers, didn't speak English hardly at all, many of them. And we were trying to teach them to read in English, and it just wasn't, for obvious reasons, it just clearly wasn't working. I mean, that was what the curriculum said. And so those of us who were volunteering and the actual librarians who were in charge, we sat down and we said, look, this isn't working. They have to learn to read in the language they speak and learn the decoding before they can learn to read in a language that they don't even speak. And so we actually had to do some pretty fancy footwork with some of the grants that we had, but we managed. So that's by way of asking you how that concept fits in here?
That's a very good question. So we are lucky to have Carla Vasquez on our staff, and she will be leaning into that early literacy with the combination of multilingual learners on there, because what we don't want, just as Sarah and her team has said, is we don't want over-identification, and that could very easily happen with language learners. So our next speaker series, Dr. Claude Goldenberg is going to address that. He talks a lot about how science of reading and multilingual learners kind of go together. And Dr. Kinsella is also, she's the author of English 3D. She's working on a TK2 version, and she is also has expertise in English learners. So we are attuned to that and really hoping to get in front of that too. So we're hoping to offer some things like Spanish to English biliteracy next year through with Carla's expertise, and that'll help us help teachers support that work so that there's not misidentification.
Great. I'm really glad that's part of the mindset of what's happening here. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments? Okay, I have a couple. So my first one is just in regard to the multi-tiered systems of support and how that ties in to this. And I know a bit about it, but I'm going to ask it just so that the board can understand it a little bit better. But how, like, when we're talking about the screening, like from your perspective, what do you see as the goal of the screening? Because my understanding is, right, that it's not to identify students, right, for a certain thing. But can you tell us more about just like that concept so that it's a little more clear, like what the purpose of it is?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really great question, because if you just read the ed code, the purpose of the screener is to do it one time per year. And that's, what is mandated. It doesn't mandate all the after steps. The spirit of the legislation is ensuring that we have another tool that all of the early education learners utilize in conjunction with a variety of other data sources. So it's not an assessment, as Board President Vanini pointed out. It doesn't qualify you for special education. It's not even a special education initiative. This is a general education initiative about first instruction and building capacity and ensuring that we're aligning with all of the amazing things that Maria was going over. But it's one tool. And where MTSS comes in, and this is really the focus of the work of the center, is if you don't have a strong tiered intervention system with on-ramps and off-ramps, and by that I mean ways to refer students and identify students and plug them into different interventions, monitor the effectiveness of those interventions, and then have goals to return them back to lower tiers, then it's not really going to do much to meet the spirit of the legislators when they were authoring the bill. So our focus with the work that we're doing from a systems perspective is ensuring that districts have the structures that they need to use this in combination with a variety of other tools and data points and instruments to identify when students need some additional supports, and be very intentional about the provision and monitoring of those supports. I believe I've said it before. I know many people outside of me have said it. There's no such thing as a tier 2 kid or a tier 3 kid, right? All of the students have different profiles, different strengths. And so if we're not using monitoring tools to identify where they fall in their level of need in a variety of different areas, then we're missing out on a really great opportunity to target and individualize that instruction.
Thank you for that answer. So I'm hearing you say it's a tool for the teachers to be able to determine how to address their needs, essentially. But my second question is, and I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure, is when the screening happens, who sees it? Who sees the results? And then I'm pretty sure it's that parents can see it. And so my question really is part of your addressing things with districts, helping them not only with what you just said, but also with kind of managing that? Because of course there will be some students when they have all of these things, right, that may be dyslexic, right? They may need some even more supports, that might not happen right in the classroom, who knows? But what I'm saying is that, I think that there needs to, what I've heard in the conversation is that there might need to be some communication, like more education about like to parents and to the community about it, because I don't think they'll say, well, they're screened and then they need this. And so I know that's not the intent, but I don't know that that's what everyone understands. So my question is, will we be supporting to help with that understanding in the be in the class so that students are in the classroom?
Yes, it was a part of very early conversations that we had starting early fall, maybe late summer. Once the legislation passed, we had collaborative meetings that included Dr. Mary Young and Marshall Moten, the Executive Director of Early Learning Support Services. And one of the pieces in the very beginning of the conversation is, how are we going to include an educational and informational piece for families, for caregivers, for educators, to really understand what it is and what it isn't, and how it could be used really powerfully, and how it could also be misleading in a way, right? And so we don't want something to, I know as a parent, I get the SBAC reports and I look and I see it. And I know as an educator, I've said 100 times, it's 1 day or 3 days, it's a snapshot, it's a piece of the puzzle. And knowing that, knowing all the other pieces that go into it, it's still pretty dysregulating for me when I see 1s and 2s. And so that's a really important part, not only to help address maybe fears or concerns that might arise from it, but also think systemically, if what it does is result in a higher and disproportionate number of special education referrals, that creates a strain on the system as well. And so if we can help families understand what it means, what they can do, how they can get support, how they can have conversations and really kind of unpack it, I think that's going to be incredibly beneficial as part of our support process. And it might not be us directly doing it. It may be part of the conversations we have with districts. They're known members of their community, and the relationships and the trust that they've built with their community is important, but it's certainly part of the conversation.
Thank you. I really appreciate this very much, just having all this information, just knowing all the trainings, the workshops, all the supports that you're providing for districts. I think one of you referred to it as like, what is the value add that we have? And it really is like this kind of economies of scale thing. Like we can sort of understand what the best practices are, share them between, and I'm really excited to hear that you're having San Mateo Foster City sort of share what they're doing. I had the opportunity to attend one of their, where they shared, and we got to visit all the classrooms, and they shared what they've been doing so far. And it is really impressive. And they just like went all in, right? Not every district is doing that, but just also to note for Trustee Alvaro's question, they have a distinct focus on English language learners, and in one of their schools, probably more than one, but specifically Meadow Heights, they are focused on like giving feedback to the curriculum builders, right, around cognates and so they're building their own materials around that. It's really impressive, and I think that they're seeing some results around that. So I'm so excited to hear that. Yeah.
So those are the TOSAs that the teachers on special assignment that we're going to be bringing on August 2nd to talk about how they are incorporating. So, I love what was said about, science of reading is great, and it also doesn't address everything that our multilingual learners need. And so what's that additional piece? And those teachers on special assignment just so beautifully showed us what that looks like in terms of instructional practice. And so that's why we are bringing them in to share that the county. So I appreciate that
Yeah,
that
that's
you like, I was
fantastic.
at the same event.
Like it's like an access into the science of reading. But anyway, so that's great. And we've also, as you may know, we've also been doing some education around this for our school board colleagues throughout the county. And we're planning on doing a little bit more maybe in the coming year around the screening. So that would be great too, we'll keep that on board. Maybe that's another panel. Mr. Cannon.
I've heard three things that I'm kind of grabbing onto. One is better screening, you think, in this new system? Is that a goal, better screening? And better use of research? And then we talked a little bit about phonics. So are you folks professionally enthusiastic about these prospects?
I can say I'm thrilled. I was a principal in that district we've been talking about when we rolled out science of reading. And I was at a school where 70% or more of our students were identified as multilingual learners. And in that first year, we saw astronomical gains by focusing on everything Maria outlined, using a curriculum, but also supplementing it with other tools. And we've been using the word tools, but that we knew would most benefit our students. So to have something that's universal, being used in a general education setting to make sure that we are properly grouping our students according to their need is what's needed. So I can say I'm excited. That's why I'm excited as a center to do the workshops to really help make sure everyone is choosing what is best for their students.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? We also have potential public comment. I don't know if we have any hands raised, Superintendent McGee. Check.
We do. Excuse me. We have one hand raised, and are you ready for that now?
I think so, unless yeah, let's do that. And
Okay.
then, okay.
Jennifer Salma. Think
Yeah.
you're free to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. I'm Jennifer Salma, and I am a regional leader with Decoding Dyslexia California. I'm also a parent of a 16-year-old dyslexic son. We live here, and I live in Hillsborough, where my son attended public school until we felt we had to remove him so he could get really high quality evidence-based literacy instruction. So he is on his way now as a 16-year-old. So I just want to thank all of you at the county for leading this initiative because as I think somebody said, it's one thing to do the screening, but then now what? And so I love to hear that you guys are talking about the now what, helping teachers understand why they have to making the shift to science of reading is going to help improve student outcomes and address some of our equity gaps that we have. I did want to say, yes, as Chelsea, I think the same point I was going to make, the parent notification piece of the legislation is also an important part. I think as I speak for parents, I wished I had known that my son was not learning to read before third grade when kind of the wheels came off the bus for him. I was never really adequately informed, and that information would have been useful, particularly in my case. I also wanted to comment that the screening was actually part of 2015 legislation that when we were worked on with DDCA, the California Dyslexia Guidelines. So that was negotiated out of those guidelines. So this is really, we've been working at this for many years, and we are the 41st state in the union now to mandate this screening. And it really goes to focus on early identification and early intervention for students with reading struggle, particularly those with dyslexia. The kids who are not identified early are 2 to 5 times more likely to experience anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, emotional and mental health conditions. So it is important work, very, very important work that you are all, these districts are going to be embarking on with this screener. I really hope that it is successful. It sounds like we have a wonderful group in the speakers tonight, that they know exactly what they're doing and how to support the districts, because we know the training is not necessarily there for the teachers. They haven't come out with in their credentialing programs, which is another piece of legislative work that Decoding Dyslexia is assisting with, to make sure the new teachers, pre-service teachers, come in with instruction that now they can get set up into school districts who are using science of reading and can be successful and have a lot of job satisfaction in being able to teach students to read. So thank you again so much for agendizing this and preparing in such a significant way for what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you all. This is really great information. And we have one more comment.
So I
Trustee
just wanted to
Elvira.
make a quick comment because I just remembered, I saw an article. It's a great picture of a bunch of San Mateo County Sheriff's deputies sitting around with virtual reality glasses on. And the reason is that they were being trained in identifying dyslexia and what dyslexia feels like to help. Some of them were school resource officers, not all, but just the idea that this is something everybody's talking about finally, to the point where the sheriff's department is feeling it's important to train the deputies and what dyslexia looks like. So I just thought you'd like that as there's other people working on it too. So that's great.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'll just say in closing, it was really great when we did our School Boards Association meeting, and some of us were there. Superintendent McGee was there, and Jennifer Salma, who spoke just now, she ran us through a mini version of the dyslexia experience, or that, and it's quite eye-opening. Trustee Jard was there as well. And just, I wasn't in the group that had the words that were not decodable, but you were.
I was. And it was more than eye-opening. And I cannot imagine having to go through that every single day in school. It was just such a struggle and an emotional thing. And when people say dyslexia, you really don't understand. Excuse me. I don't think until you go through something like that. And I was just blown away. I was so happy I was one of the few that had that piece of paper and had to try and figure out what it said. I couldn't.
So, well, thank you again. When we did that training or that panel for our board members, it was the most well-attended that we've had in a very long time. There were like 40 or 45 attendees. So people are super interested in this, and this is such important work. So thank you very much. All right. There is no action to take on this item. All right. Public, let's see. No, sorry, that's the title. For item 6A, Kevin Boltema, Deputy Superintendent, Business Services Division, and Tammy Moore, Associate Superintendent, Human Resources, will present the public disclosure of the collective bargaining agreement between the San Mateo County Superintendent of Schools and California School Employee Association, CSEA, and its Chapter 887 for 2023-2024. Welcome, Deputy Superintendent Boltema and Associate Superintendent are welcome.
Good evening, Board President Bonini, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. Deputy Superintendent Boltema couldn't be here tonight, so I will share on his behalf. So I am here to share that San Mateo County Office of Education has concluded the reopener negotiations with CSEA Chapter 887 for the 23-24 fiscal year. And the agreement is consistent with the other SMCOE classified bargaining units, also for the 23-24 school year. The agreement consists of a 6% increase to the salary schedule effective July 1st of 2023. It also includes an increase to the SMCOE contribution for health and welfare benefits that's effective January 1st, 2024. And that includes for individual contributions an increase to $1,300 per month. And for individual plus one contribution, an increase to $1,550 per month. The agreement also includes a one-time payment for CSEA members in paid status as of the ratification date, and the amount of $5,000 per employee. And the total estimated cost of this settlement with CSEA 887 is $938,006. And I am available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Trustee Cannon.
Well, Tammy, just to repeat my appreciation for you folks who have to do the negotiations. Very tough. I remember when I negotiated for teachers and we just gave you guys heck. It was a tough job. So good for you staying with it. Remind me, we have 3 classified negotiating groups. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then we have the non-represented confidential employees is 4. And then we have 1 group of teachers that negotiate. So we have 5 really separate.
As well as the unrepresented or management group, which goes with confidential.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Are there any questions or sorry, any comments from the public?
No public comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. There's no action to take on this item. Item 6B is superintendent's comments. Superintendent McGee, do you have any comments to share?
Yeah, I want to just begin by thanking the teams that just presented. I think our county office is full of really smart, passionate, and dedicated leaders. So I want to thank Executive Director Sarah Notch and Executive Director Gwen Lee for your leadership of your teams. Collaborating with so many folks in a busy time with so many demands is a choice that we make at the County Office of Ed. And it makes us better. It slows us down a little bit. People have to recognize that it takes longer to get all the folks in the room, but that when we do that with so much talent and perspective and representation across the board with our leaders, that we get better outcomes. So I want to thank you for your excellent work. My own activities over the last couple of weeks have been a lot of travel. I attended along with Board Member Torres the Progress Seminar, which was, as you might expect, very interesting. So many people gathered in one place from San Mateo County with a focus on San Mateo County. I didn't get a chance to talk to Board Member Torres very much, but it's hard to take 2 steps before you get stopped by somebody for something. And but it was a positive and informative weekend. Last week, I traveled to Sacramento to testify for Assemblymember Pappen on her bill AB 2829, which is an effort to find a more permanent funding source for youth mental health. The bill proposes a tax on digital advertising. So I'm not sure how that's going to progress, given anything that's asking for tax revenue gets challenged, you know, at the legislative level. But everyone agrees that there's a need to further support youth mental health and to also put some safeguards in place into the world of social media for our students. Yesterday, I was in Los Angeles with Deputy Superintendent Bultema and our manager of facilities, Rich Maldonado. We were there to accept our California Green Ribbon Schools Award at the gold level. The San Mateo County was well represented as Cabrillo Unified received a Green Achievers Award, which is the highest level of award you can receive. It's a national award, and that team, the Cabrillo team, will be traveling to Washington, D.C. over the summer to represent San Mateo County at the White House to and share the work that they're doing. In that Cabrillo speech, there was a lot of nice shout outs for the support they received from the County Office of Ed, from collaboration with our Safe Routes to Schools program, collaboration with our environmental literacy program, and overall support that they received from the County Office of Education. So it was an honor to be there. And while we were there receiving that award here at the county office, the California suite was filled by attendees of our Climate Ready School Summit. It was a full day and a celebratory day and a day of learning and engagement. So really proud of all of our advocacy and expertise again, and leadership in the climate ready and environmental science and education space. Tomorrow, I will be flying back to Los Angeles to attend the California Distinguished Schools Awards event on Friday. We have 5 districts who received distinction there, and I will help celebrate with them and enjoy that event. And then I did want to also let the board know that we are honored to have been recognized with a Kent Award for our work in our Safe Routes to Schools leadership across the county. We have an extraordinary leader in that program in Teresa Baez-Kelly, and she's always finding innovative ways to partner and expand the capacity of our districts and our communities to do improvement projects around safe travel and safe routes, and also finds ways to support communities that are most in need of support and services. So we're really excited to honor them. And I know many of you will probably attend the Kent Award, and we can all cheer for their success there. At the County Office of Ed, again, many teams having large events, pulling many, many partners together for good cause. The one of which was, again, last week, we had our second CTE advisory meeting, which pulled in 133 participants from education, business, and nonprofits to network and discuss plans going forward in the career and technical education space. Lots and lots of energy. We were supported there by the South San Francisco Unified School District, who brought their ballet folklorico students to perform for the audience, and then their culinary arts students also prepared all the food for the event. So it was really good feeling, good vibes, and good information. Again, congrats to the leaders of that team, Executive Director Sharon Brown, supported by our Associate Superintendent Chris Schaus. So really good stuff. Saturday here at the county office, very, very special event. Again, all planned and organized by our incredible staff. We had an Afrofuturism event here for students and families who identify as Black. It was an empowering and liberating day of connection. And I want to do a shout out to our coordinator, Dr. Zoni Boyer, who was here earlier. It was her dream to make that happen. She was supported by her executive director, Sarah Notch. She reached across many different departments and collaborated with many different leaders. So there was a good cadre of SMCOE folks here supporting that event. And honestly, the center of the whole thing were the kids. They had really great experiences under the mentorship of, I think there were 5 practicing artists here, acting artists here in different art forms, each who took groups of students and took them through activities and engagement. So really powerful day. Our question now is how we follow that up and what we do next in supporting those students. So we're busy working on that. 2 other things of note, both in the accreditation space. Our teacher and administrator development program just underwent their 7-year, wasn't WASC, it was a CTC accreditation. It's been a year in the planning and lots of work, led by Executive Director Winnie Hardy. The team received their 7-year accreditation and had many accolades with some appropriate highlights on ways in which we continue to grow and improve the program. So congratulations to the TAD program. And then our outdoor education program just received their 5-year COSA accreditation also, which they've been working on all year long. And they received their accreditation with flying colors for another 5 years. So congratulations to teacher and administrator development team and the outdoor ed team for completing and successfully completing their accreditation processes. And that completes my comments for tonight.
Thank you. For item 7A, the board will engage in a first reading of updated policies. No action is required. The board policies will come back to the board at its May 15th, 2024 meeting for a second reading and action. Superintendent McGee, would you like to introduce this item?
Let me find my spot here in the packet. I believe there's only one board policy here. Is
You
that
want me to outline
2?
it?
Yeah. Yes, why don't you? Because this was handled entirely by the board policy subcommittee. And I believe there's one policy.
Yeah, there's one policy. It's board bylaw 9124, the attorney policy. And if you are in the agenda and you click on it, it's an active link, so you can go see the draft in there. Does anyone have any questions about it? I can just say we essentially looked at the language that was proposed by CSBA, and we kept, as you know, much of it because it was attempting to streamline the policy, but we also modified their language to be in line with our practices that are typical for our boards, and primarily being how we engage with council. And so that means that what we have typically done and have been asked to do by lead counsel Niblin when we've engaged with him is to have requests go through the board president, whomever that may be at the time, so that there is a stream of communication. And then that also is the policy allows for board president to delegate talking to council to another person, but just keeps it sort of streamlined. So not everybody is going and asking council questions all the time is kind of the point. So that was a part that we kind of cleaned up a little bit. But if once you read it, this is just the first reading. So were there any questions on that? Yeah, Trustee Alvaro.
Just that I want to thank Council Beltramo for doing giving us a lot of good advice on some of the language that was confusing. And as is often the case with CSBA policy updates, they don't apply to us because of little minor things like us not hiring the superintendent. So we always have to go in and find those things and throw them out. And so Gina Beltramo was really a huge amount of help with that. So I want to thank her.
Yes, thank you. Very, very important to think. Our council, she, all the policies that we're going through, she's very good at streamlining the language, so that's helpful for us. Okay, well, it'll come back as, for second reading, and hopefully approval at the next meeting. Are there any comments from the public on this item?
No comments.
Okay, as I noted, there is no action to take. For item 7B, after being reviewed at the April 3rd, 2024 board meeting, the 2024-2025 board meeting calendar is before the board for approval. Superintendent McGee, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, sure. There are, before the board would take action, or I'm hoping you would have a discussion and make a few decisions. There's a couple of ors in here. So the first either or date is in November for the board retreat. Both dates are listed here, November 6th in an evening meeting, which I believe is a Wednesday night, a non-board meeting Wednesday night. And then November 15th is I think it's a Saturday. No, it must be a Friday from 1 to 4. Everybody, the entire board was actually available for either date. So it's just a matter of you determining, do you prefer a Wednesday night or do you prefer a Friday afternoon? And then the second either or option is in January for a governance workshop. And that is the same format. January 24th is one option. Let me find January. We're talking 2025 here.
It's a Friday.
January 24th is a Friday. And January 29th is a Wednesday. So they're just flipped, but it's a Friday afternoon or a Wednesday night. I simply projected a 2-hour meeting as opposed to a 3-hour meeting, but it could easily, you could also change the time to 3 hours if you preferred to match the retreat time. And those are the two choices that you might determine before you approve the calendar as amended.
Okay, thank you. I also have one other note about the calendar. For the very first date on July, or I had a question how that's the, I don't know if it's the second or third Wednesday. I am traveling that week in July. So I would like to propose that it be the week before, but I don't know if that's a conflict for anyone else.
I'm sorry, are you talking about the July regular meeting?
The very first meeting on
Okay.
the list. Yeah, I was hoping maybe we could change it to the 10th
To the 10th?
rather.
You
than
mean the
17th.
9th, I think. Oh, no, I'm looking at 2025, sorry.
Yeah, so it's currently
me go
noted as
back.
the 17th. And then,
Yes,
that was-
I don't think there's any problem on our end with the 10th.
okay, and then
It would be
maybe,
on the board end.
okay, thank you for confirming that or checking that. So are there any comments on those other dates or on the July date or on any other dates? Trustee Camacho.
For this November meeting, the 6th would be better for me.
Okay.
And there's also an AXA event happening that week, so there might be some people from here absent, possibly.
Where?
The week of November 6th?
It's on the 14th and 15th,
Oh, the 14th.
just so you're
and
aware. So that's why the 6th would be better for me
15th.
personally.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. Does the 6th work for everyone else?
Yes.
Okay with that? Okay. All right. Was the 10th of July okay with everyone else?
Yes, for me.
Okay. All right. And what about the dates in sorry.
January.
January, right? Friday, the 24th or Wednesday, the 29th. Are there thoughts on those dates?
I would prefer Wednesday, the 29th, if possible.
Okay. Anyone not available on the Wednesday? Okay. All right. I think that addresses all the questions. Yes.
I just have one concern.
Mhm.
And I'm fine with the July 10th, but the next meeting isn't until August 21st.
Yes, that's.
That
long
is a
time.
long time in between two meetings. Should we look at that August 21st date as well? I mean, that's way over a month.
It is summertime and staff is largely trying to take a break in July. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of county office business that's being driven. But I do think that trying to consider the week of the 12th is the week that our staff comes back to work.
Teachers.
Teach
so.
they will come back for professional development, I believe.
But you have staff here during some staff are year round, right?
They're here, yes,
Yeah.
but the summer dates were spaced out to kind of allow folks to get some time, a break.
Okay, well, it's always possible if something comes up that we can call a special meeting, but is it that you don't feel like there's anything that we would need to approve or address before school begins? Because that would be, our meeting would be after, right? After school.
Right, yeah, there would be nothing in line, but if you want to move it to August 14th, that puts the board packet work into the very first week of August, which is a time when a lot of people will be on vacation. I'm just trying to tie it into the health and wellness of our staff and.
All right, if there isn't a problem, but I just wanted to point it out
Mhm.
that it was well over a month, so.
Okay.
Does it, I don't have a horse in this race because I'm gone in July, but for a cadence perspective, we have a meeting, what is it, the 26th of June?
Yes.
And then if you pushed it to July 24th and then August 21st, then it becomes almost a monthly cadence. But I don't know if that helps you in terms of the timeout.
Doesn't help. I'm gone too. I'm gone
got it,
every
sorry.
every other
Yeah.
week in July. I'm gone, but I mean.
Okay.
You go.
Yes. A quick question for the August 21st. Is that after the opening of the school?
Yes.
Okay, just it aligns with our board governance calendar. Because our item to get a report on would be on the opening of the school.
Oh, can
So-
you repeat that?
Yes.
Sorry.
The date that we have in the calendar aligns with our board governance calendar on getting reports on the opening of the schools.
Oh, I see what you're saying for the 21st.
Yes.
Okay, yes, that makes sense. Okay.
So I would leave it as is.
Okay, well, it sounds like there won't be a lot that we'll need to meet on. But if we want to, we can try to schedule something, or if you want to schedule an interim meeting in between there, and then if we don't need it, we don't have to, we can cancel it. That's another option.
That's fine.
Any other thoughts? Okay. All right. Well, then, is anybody wanting to make a motion?
Are we doing the April one, too? There's 2 dates? No?
One,
Oh, it's
regular
dates
meetings
and then
are
a
the-
study session.
Oh, I see.
right, it's just the 25th is the only date.
Yeah, so we'd be meeting the 2nd, the 16th and the 25th
And the
of
25th.
April.
Okay.
Sort of like we did last Friday. Okay.
So I make a motion that we approve the meeting schedule with the couple of changes we just talked about, moving the July date and agreeing on the 2 dates for the retreat and the governance workshop that we just got done talking about,
Both on Wednesday.
November and then January.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
There's a motion by trustee Alvaro and a second by trustee Torres. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. Let's see. Item 7C, the board has 7 ad hoc subcommittees. Board members serve as representatives on these different assignments. I think we talked about not having to call them ad hocs, but when a subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to the assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board. So we used to try to track this. This is a change, and I think I talked about it maybe at the last meeting. We used to try to track who had met, and then we try to agendize specific meetings misspeaking, specific report outs for the committees. And rather than doing that, we're going to have a general item going forward where if there is anything to report out that you have liaised to, because there are many liaisons, I actually have the list here, or the subcommittees, then you can report out. And if you want to submit something in writing and you want to do that in advance, you can also do that. So I'm just going to go through them. Some of them I know haven't met, but I know Superintendent Salary Committee has not met. We haven't, so the only one that I know of that have met, and I'll do this first, is the legislative, the policy, but we just did the policy approval, so I don't think we have a report out, and the Gateway Subcommittee. So legislative and Gateway. Have any other committees met? Okay. All right. So I'll just briefly, so I'm the chair of both of those subcommittees. I will just briefly report out for legislative. We might not have met since I reported out last, but one thing that I wanted to just note, and it hopefully will come up in a future agenda item, is our Youth Commission liaison, Bethany. We're considering bringing a resolution forward to the board and related to her desire to be on the National American Legion Leadership Group, which does not currently allow girls to attend or be a participant to, where she had brought the last couple of weeks, brought a resolution to another group outside of us that will be sharing that out to many elected officials, including probably our board. And so that's sort of in discussion with Bethany and then potentially staff to see if she can bring forward a resolution. So we might be agendizing that. So I just wanted to make you aware of it. So that's all for the legislative subcommittee. For the Gateway Subcommittee, we have not met, but Trustee Gerard and I were able to attend one of the design committee meetings, the sessions with the team. And so that was just something we just wanted to let you know that we had done. And it was really great to see the work that's going on. We were able to join a couple of the groups where they're looking at some different ideas for the coming years, or to try out in the coming year, I guess. And so that was really great. I know they met another time after that. We weren't invited to that meeting, but we will have an opportunity for those who are able to meet again with the group in June. So I am not able to do that, but hopefully the other subcommittee members might be. So that's pretty much all I have. Does anyone else have anything to report out about that? Or Trustee Gerard, did you want to share anything about that?
I just want to say that it was really very informative to be able to attend that particular meeting and to see how it operates and works. And the interaction that was very lively in most of the groups. And it sounded like that they really are enthusiastic about what they're doing, and everybody is assigned to a certain group. So they meet on a regular basis when the design committee does meet. So it was really a privilege to be able to attend and understand what the process is. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then the only other thing is that there is I think they'll be well, maybe Superintendent McGee can confirm, I think this is right. They're wrapping up the work with the National Equity Project soon, in the next couple of months. And so there'll be that meeting, I guess, will be one of the end meetings, or the one that we're invited to in June. So there's that. And then I know we gave feedback on the mission statement, vision statement, whatever that was, recently. So I think that will come up with the committee. So I think it's still a work in progress, but we were happy to attend, and we felt like we got a better sense of what's going on. So that's good. Are there any questions? Okay. The other potential report outs are the representatives. But I don't know if the representatives are to LCAP, but we had an LCAP meeting. Do you have any reporting out for that, Trustee Gerard?
No, I wasn't prepared to do that.
Okay. Okay, no worries.
I apologize.
That's okay. No, we all attended the study session, so.
Right.
And then the San Mateo County School Boards Association, I'm the appointed representative. I'll just, again, note there's the Kent Awards that are coming up on the 10th. If you haven't registered, that's been what the committees have been working on. I'm not actually on that committee, but that's also when the new board for SMCSBA will be elected. That happens at the Kent Awards as well. And then I don't think any of the others have met. Has the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities, there's been no meetings for that, right? And Big Lift, and then the SELPA was already the last time, so. Okay.
SELPA is on May 21st.
Okay. All right, so that's all for that. Okay, so let's see. Last thing we have is our board member comments. There's no action to take on the reports. Okay, Trustee Alvaro, would you like to make any comments?
Just a couple things. Our outdoor, I was excited to hear about the outdoor ed accreditation for 5 more years. And just to let everybody know that the outdoor education subcommittee will be meeting 2 weeks from tonight with the representatives of the Y to talk about what's going on up there. So we'll be able to come back and tell you more once we know more. We haven't met with them in a while because of the whole lockdown thing, but it'll be fun to meet with them. Congratulations on the Green Ribbon School Award to County Office and also to Cabrillo. I could not be prouder of the work that they have been doing. I've been watching it from the ground, literally, as they built greenhouses and school gardens. And, I remember the first Little Heal project, which was a tiny little garden over next to Hatch School, kind of that little alley between the district office and Hatch School. It was our first Heal project. And, we got the grant and all the community members helped to get that going. And now it's just this gigantic thing. And it's just really exciting to see. So well-deserved. And also the Safe Routes to School. Teresa Valles-Kelly is amazing. And it's really lovely to see that that's happening as well. I'm really, really excited to hear about the new supports for reading instruction. So thank you so much for bringing that report to us and sending us the information and including us in that, because that is so important. I mean, if children can read, the world is open to them. And if they cannot read, it's closed. And really important. So thank you very much. And then lastly, I just want to congratulate Lori Owens on her very, very quiet little sliding out of the county office for her retirement. She has been an amazing asset to the office. Joked with her a couple of times about getting her a cape and a big ash for her shirt, because she's just been amazing. And her work that she's done outside the county office, her leadership with the San Mateo County NAACP, and she's an amazing person, and I will definitely miss having her around, but I wanted to congratulate her on her retirement.
Thank you. Trustee Camacho?
I would just echo everything that Trustee Alvaro said, but that's about it. I do have a little one at Outdoor Ed right now, which is fun. So hopefully that's going well. You let me know if there's anything that I need to know.
If you haven't heard anything, that's probably good news.
At least he's got good weather this time. Your family has good weather this time.
Okay. Trustee Cannon?
Oh, just to thank Susan and concur with her comments. I think it's a special pleasure to have that team, Sarah, be here and get a little chance to see them in action, a little chance to get to know them, and such powerful thoughts about reading. And as Susan also said, looking forward to our meeting on the 15th with the Y and the developments for outdoor education. Always very exciting to talk to them. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Gerard?
Thank you. I also want to concur with Susan on the reading presentation. It is so important. And it just, I am thrilled that there's a reemphasis on it, because it kind of, even though it's absolutely the core for any kind of learning, I felt for the last several years, it's kind of gone by the wayside, and people knew there was a problem and issues, but maybe a lot was going on, but I didn't hear about it. So it's wonderful that it's risen to the top and everybody cares so much. I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled. And again, I just want to reiterate, I really did enjoy being able to attend the design committee meeting. Was very informative, and it was a pleasure. I also agree with Lori Owens' retirement, and it's such a great loss. She's been just a wonderful, wonderful person, and such an asset, and just nice to be able to have her. And I am happy that she will be retiring, and hopefully she will enjoy her retirement, but she will be missed. Also, it's been interesting because Sophia on the school board in Half Moon Bay has been such an advocate of that program that is now being recognized. And it has been fun for those of us that follow her on Facebook, because she has posted and posted and posted numerous pictures and all kinds of wonderful accolades for that program. Since, as Susan said, it was just like 5 plants or something, and then it just got huge. So to see that it's being so recognized is really a thrill, because I feel like we've watched it grow to something that's really wonderful, and to be very, very proud of. And congratulations to all of them. And I also will bring up the transition committee group that I participate in with CSBA, CCBE transition. We had a meeting today. We also had a meeting last week, and they were considering upping the timeline of presenting things to the board of directors of CSBA. And we did decide in a meeting this morning that we will not do that, because we felt that it was very detrimental to the credibility of the transition group because we had put out a timeline, a very specific timeline that we were going to follow. And part of the issue throughout the state is mistrust, huge, and lack of communication. And so I know personally, I felt very, very strongly about leaving things the way they were. And we also are going to try and up the communication between what the transitional group is doing and decisions being made and the general membership of 354 county board members in the state of California, and communicating to them what we're doing and asking for input. And one of the big times that they will have the opportunity to do that is at our September conference. We're actually having a special session where they can come in and give feedback and ideas on what we're doing. And communication will go out before that time to be reviewed by them so that they will be coming in hopefully well prepared. So I think that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Torres?
Thank you. These last few days have kind of flown by, so I don't remember much, but I do remember Progress Seminar. That was a lot of fun. Great to see so many amazing people throughout the county in one space. And then yesterday was the Climate Ready Symposium. Great turnout, amazing speakers. It was also great to see 2 of the high school students speak and get their perspective on all the work that they're doing. Huge congratulations to our districts. I was just amazed by all the amazing work. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few comments. First, I was really thrilled to be able to attend the Climate Ready School Symposium on Tuesday here with Trustee Torres. It was there was so much energy here, and I went to a couple of the sessions as I was, able to, because there were 2, and I wanted to go to everything, but there were 3 things at once, and that's how it happens, because you have different presentations. But I did get to go to the one where Superintendent McFettridge was talking about their program. Even though his staff, I guess, were in the other place, wherever you were, Superintendent McGee. And it was just so exciting to hear all the things. And then one of the other panels was the principal from Redwood High School. Then when I've had a chance to visit there. So it was just really great to see what everyone's doing. The keynote, Jonathan Klein, was amazing. He was just, by the end, I was like crying because he was just a very good speaker. And then we had the honor, since Superintendent McGee was away, we had the honor of having the intro welcome from former Superintendent Ann Campbell. So that was very nice. She has such a way about speaking and sharing, and she brought her props, so she always does. It was beautiful. Picture that she used to have hanging in her office of penguins and telling everybody, the message was jump off the cliff, take a leap, do the things. So it was really quite nice. I enjoyed it. And I think I want to thank Julie Hilborn, who I think did a lot of the planning in her role for that. She was amazing and emceed throughout the day, and that was really great. The other thing I wanted to share was I had the opportunity today to help the amazing 17th District PTA with their luncheon at Gateway, also with Trustee Gerard. And it's always just such a good day because they, bring presents for everyone. We actually had a little raffle, and I made my macaroons, and it was fun. Everyone had a good time. So it's nice when everyone's smiling. And I think that was like 18 or 20 attendees, so it's good. And everybody kind of there at the same time, like enjoying each other. So that was nice. So I want to thank the 17th District members, Joanna Jeffs, Lori McBride, and of course, Carrie Dubois wasn't there, but she sent a lot of cookies and brownies.
And they were good.
They were delicious. Yes, we tried them. And then I also wanted to express my just extreme gratitude for the reading presentation, science of reading, structured literacy, the screenings. it's one of the, issues I'm super passionate about and trying to raise awareness about, and that we're doing it just makes me so happy to see what's going on, with the connections with the districts. So it's a huge need, as everyone's noted, and it's really exciting. Then I already mentioned the Kent Awards, so I was going to talk about that. And then I am excited also to attend is it already next week? The third, I think, session of the Let's Talk that the San Mateo Union High School District is doing. And with Trustee Gerard, we've been going to bring together all the community of the feeder districts. And it's really quite an amazing conversation about equity and just all the needs and how everybody needs to come together to do that. So coming together to talk. And then finally, I just wanted to, I know this is somewhere on our calendar, but it's not on the calendar I've seen yet. I'm super excited to visit Outdoor Ed because I haven't been there for years and years, and I'd love to know when we can do that soon, as well as the Hillcrest visit that I think is somewhere out there. And then I forgot to mention, I think Trustee Torres mentioned when ODA was here, but it'd be great to do that. I know we're getting toward the end of the school year, but if we can squeeze anything in, that would be great. Okay, those are all my comments. Okay, for item 8A, we have our adjournment, and tonight we will be adjourning our meeting in the memory of former California Assembly member and State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Delaney Easton. So I'll just read some words about her. All right. Delaney Easton was a graduate of San Carlos schools. She was a tireless and effective advocate for students, and the only woman to ever serve as California's State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Ms. Easton began her career as a community college educator before moving to work in the telecommunications sector. She served on the city council in Union City. There's actually a school named after her in her honor. She then represented parts of Alameda County and Santa Clara County in the California State Assembly between 1986 and 94. She was one of the first few women who did that, and I visited her once at her home, and she had the Capital magazine that had the picture of her and these other women right there on the cover. It's amazing. And then she served as Superintendent of Public Instruction from 1995 to 2003. During her visit to this board in 2020, she swore me into my position here. Ms. Easton shared that while she had a great teacher in San Francisco, she wouldn't have been able to reach all 44 students in her classroom with a magic wand. When she moved to San Carlos, there were only 20 students in her second grade class, and the quality of education was so much greater. She never forgot the impact of class size on students, and in her role as state superintendent, she made class size reduction a priority and persuaded the governor and the legislature to invest in cutting class sizes. As a result, kindergarten through third grade class sizes were cut from 30 or more to 20 students in almost every school in the state. And I'll just share that I was teaching kindergarten in first grade when that happened, and I went from having 35 kindergartners to 20 first graders. It was quite a difference. Ms. Easton is also remembered for the Garden in Every School initiative that saw the establishment of gardens in 3,000 California schools, as well as her work to improve the nutritional value of food served in schools. Additionally, she collaborated with the private sector to expand internet access to schools, creating a model for the rest of the nation. She was a champion of universal preschool, a vision we see being realized today, and another of her great many legacies. California lost a great advocate for students, learning, and accountability with the passing of Ms. Easton last week. We're all grateful for all she accomplished on behalf of students and send our heartfelt condolences to her family and friends. Our next regular meeting will take place on Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, 7 p.m., and this meeting is adjourned.
Bev, your committee's busy, huh?